Welcome back. I'm going to do an episode about some of the jewelry that I've picked up from around the world in my travels. And I think jewelry and travel for me are very closely associated. They always have been. I think it's really interesting the type of craftsmanship and artistry that you can find around the world and in like the smallest towns, villages, or just random locations where I have picked up some of the nicest pieces that then again travel with me and get use on a daily basis. And I also really like buying jewelry when I travel because it's easy to travel with. Like the more clothes and bags or whatever you're buying art, that's quite bulky. So for me, jewelry is actually one thing I intentionally and deliberately shop for when I'm on vacation and traveling because like it's very easy to purchase. And frankly, I actually think you get way more use out of jewelry than you do from the vast majority of your wardrobe. If you have a fabulous pair of earrings, you can wear them for a decade and just keep styling them differently. And so with that, I'm going to show you a couple pieces and tell you some of the stories around them. So the first is actually two pairs of earrings I got. So there are these, and I'll show you in photos. And I should have set this up better. And these. If I'm being honest, I much prefer these. And that is, I guess, part of what I'll talk about. So I bought these in Milan, and it was a dead of winter. And I didn't understand, like, Italy fascinates me in that it has so many climates and such a small surface area, all things considered. Like, I understand the country's far more like north-south than east-west, but like, you can drive the width of Italy in like an hour and a half, but yet like you're in completely different temperatures and climates. And so anyway, it was like the dead of winter and I was in Milan, and it was just this like rainy, like freezing day. But like, you know, I went to see the cathedral and some of the monuments and, you know, do a little history tour. So we braved the weather on my behalf, which I am grateful for. And we ended up in this, this fabulous neighborhood. It was somewhere fairly central Milan with, you know, a lot of shops and winding roads and, you know, really delightful restaurants. Actually, where I've had one of the best pizzas of my life. And that was a freezing day. And it was actually, so there were all these, I forget what street we were on now, but like it was a fairly well-known street and there were all these different stalls. And bear in mind, it was almost like, you know, 0 degrees with rain and wind chill. And there were still people selling jewelry outside and, you know, a couple different stalls. And I was so impressed by like their dedication. Like that was a day you probably wanted to sit out, and there are not a lot of tourists. It was like January in Milan. Like they didn't need to be there, but I went to a number of different stalls, but there was one in particular that just really stood out, which was the one where I bought these. And I got to end up talking to the woman who made them. If I ever find the card, I will put it in the video notes and tell you who she is. But she had been making jewelry for 20 years. And it was just like her absolute passion and conviction that like that was what she was going to do with her life. And just in that stall alone, she probably had like 400 different unique pieces, and they were only $20 each, which 20 euros. But like that actually brings me to a point about shopping for jewelry on vacation. If you're never sure, just pick up the other piece, because I have never come back from somewhere and not regretted when I look at something so beautiful and think like, oh, I could have actually like really done with another pair in a different color. And so anyway, I was actually for the blue ones, I was tempted to buy 2 because she had these in different colors. And I didn't. I kind of forced myself to pick another style. And I wear these other earrings, you know, sometimes, but I have never regretted anything I have bought while on vacation, at least not jewelry wise. And it is always a place like I should have bought more with her. She was just an exceptional artist, and I just had so much respect for her. And she was so delightful and so passionate, and you could just see like her heart beaming from inside of her. And we had a lovely talk on that very, very cold January day. And these earrings are still getting plenty of use. The second piece I'm going to talk about actually is not one I picked up, but I want to talk in particular about Turkish jewelry. Turkish jewelry is amazing. I don't know what they're doing there, but it is like far and away, like it is so creative and stylish and intricate, and I wouldn't call it subtle. It's not subtle, but it is very artistic and a little avant-garde, and it has history in it. It has lineage, it has pedigree, it tells stories of like so many different, empires and civilizations and different cultures and communities and ethnicities. And so you can see, I feel like in Turkish jewelry, you can see so much of the history of the world that has passed through, Anatolia, etc., and, parts of the Ottoman Empire. And I really, even modern Turkish jewelry, I am a huge, huge fan of. I can always spot it a mile away when I see a store with Turkish jewelry. So this ring, it actually comes with a pair of earrings, which I could not locate, my apologies. But I actually don't wear the earrings that much, but this is one of my favorite rings. It's, I think it's rubies and diamonds. My mom gave it to me. And it's always like my favorite cocktail ring to wear on, a nice, sexy night out. So this ring has also traveled the world with me, and if I'm ever back in Turkey, I am loading up on jewelry. The third piece I'm going to talk about is these fabulous snake earrings. I bought these in Mexico City. I was dating a very lovely, a somewhat older Indian gentleman who it still remains a really great friend of mine, and is just a really fabulous man. I'm really grateful. Our friendship really blossomed. We'd only dated for a couple months, but they were good months. And so anyway, we went to Mexico City. It was part of like the old part of Mexico City where they have like the Aztec. There were like these huge discs. Like I could talk a lot about what Cortez did and the Aztecs, and that is like one of the intersections of history that I think if that had not happened the way it happened, and really if you like understand the story and history of Cortez, it is really I don't know how that man survived. He should not have made it, and the Aztecs should not have lost. And there is actually there are two amazing podcasts that I really recommend, but on Cortez and the Aztecs, there's an 8-part series on the rest of history, which I have listened to twice, and it is phenomenal. It'll take you 5-7 hours to get through, but it is some of the best history podcasts I've ever listened to. That's the rest of history, and the other one is Empire with William Dalrymple and Anita Anand, and that has just those two podcasts have really changed my life. So anyway, it is a boutique somewhere close to the old part where the big discs are that were broken, and they had been they were all pure gold, and it had all been stolen. It was tragic. And they know that there is an enormous amount of archaeological discoveries that are still yet to be made underneath. But because it's so built up now with retail and residences, it's very complicated. But that would be amazing. Also, Mexico City, the museums are insane, and they are a tip of the iceberg of the history. But I really recommend them, and they are just even the buildings themselves and how things are laid out and lit and stylized. It is just a smoking city. I really love it. And last but not least is this fabulous bracelet that, once again, I cannot tell you where I bought it. Well, I bought it in Thailand. I know that much. They are actually real semi-precious stones. To the best of my knowledge, and it clips on and has 2 clasps, so it doesn't go anywhere. And it was while I was living in Thailand, and some friends of mine were doing a road trip to this national park, and they were do you want to come along? And I was obviously. And so I jumped in the car. I had no idea where I'm going. Clearly, I still don't know where I was. And we end up at this national park that was actually, obviously, really beautiful. It's a beautiful country. And they had all these stalls, and I guess there were like, there are a lot of mines, and there are a lot of like semi-precious and precious gems like mined all over Southeast Asia, and it has a long history with it. And so there were a lot of local artisans and craftsmen who I guess like probably like are also like probably white label their stuff and just sell, to distributors who then sell it on. And this probably would end up at, a store in New York and be sold for $2,000, but I actually paid $90 for it. And it was, once again, like this piece in particular really breaks my heart that I did not buy more, because there were just like tables and tables of just like immaculate jewelry. And once again, if I'm ever back, so that the moral of this story is when you see amazing jewelry when you're traveling, you buy it. If it is affordable to you, buy it. I have never regretted it. I've only ever regretted not buying more. And I will say I was actually just talking to a friend of mine very recently, and I was commenting on how easy, relatively speaking, like depending on your race, nationality, travel is a very different experience, and where you are in the world is very different. When I'm, in Southeast Asia as opposed to Europe, as opposed to South America, like these, as opposed to the Middle East, these are all very different experiences, and I am received very differently. And I think because, I am not white, obviously, and Indian or somewhat ethnically ambiguous, but also Western, I think it has actually put me in a unique position where I've basically been cool with everybody when I've traveled. And that has been a really, really nice experience that like, I think sometimes when you are kind of in the middle, you just end up being cool with everyone, which is probably like, the story of a lot of my relationships and friendships and all the different groups that I'm able to move in and out of fairly seamlessly. And so with that, I guess that was a brief love letter from me to some of my trips and travels and adventures. And it's just a little tidbit that I wanted to share with you. So take care, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.